Good morning, folks. Good morning, people. Uh, Welcome to my daily ad hoc ranting show. And today, as well, just like yesterday, will be a short video. Uh, I want to bring your attention to something that Biden said while he was in Poland, which basically explains all that he's doing, and it also shows his deception, meaningly it's a slip of a tongue, and anyone with basic knowledge of the self can clearly see all that show of support for Europe and antagonism to Putin, and it's just a farce, folks. It's a performance. Here's what he said. He threatened Putin that he should be removed from power. Of course, this is a distraction. He also said something about not 1 inch of NATO territory. Now that in itself is a chapter, is a book. He just opened up a window, or changed, opened up a wall, tore down a wall to his soul, to what he's really doing. Basically, that implies the following, and you can imply that with surety, right? With certainty, absolute certainty, that while he's talking about NATO, he doesn't want to have anything to do with non-NATO members. Remember that. If he was talking and thinking and functioning and behaving and approaching and dealing with the situation from the point of view of United States as a supposedly world power, and based on the past struggle between communism and capitalism and West and East and so on and so forth, he really shouldn't have used NATO. He should have used the word European, not 1 inch of European territory. But now, looking at it in the last century, United States contested every inch in the world, for that matter, with the communist rulers of the Soviet Union. So what has changed now as to include NATO, just only NATO? That's what he was saying. So that's point number one. I want you to think about that real hard, and you don't have to think real hard, but it's very obvious to what he was really saying there. Why would he want to say that when he is really in on this game with Pustalenin, like takeover of Europe and so on? Because people are started to look, to suspect and see evidence of the complicity by the Western establishment toward what Pustalenin is doing. In fact, it does look like they're facilitating for him the takeover of Europe. It's not going to happen. We already know that by now. I placed my word on it before it started, but guess what? And now everybody is sure of it, right? Turns out that Russia is really nothing. If Russia didn't receive help under table, passed to them under table, so nobody can notice, right? Under table, this under table thing. This under table approach to things is a pretty well known scheme of Israel, right? Israelis, and they pass under table. A lot of their livelihood is really existence depend on under table. So now, if the West didn't help Putin or Pustalenin by now, that Russia will have collapsed by now, basic and simple. You can bet your money on that. You can be certain of that. Pustalenin is being helped financially by China, by the United States, by Germany, by Arab countries who supposedly should be against him, against Pustalenin and that regime in Russia, because he killed many of them in Syria, right? The Arabs. But their rulers are not really Arabs, they're Israelis, such as the Gulf countries, to name few, Egypt included, Iraq now included, and the rulers is what I'm talking about, not the people. So that's that, folks. That's point number 2. If you doubt the help from the help of the West under the and China, for that matter, under the umbrella and hegemony and order and direction of Israel, you have a problem understanding or reading the events and facts on the ground, basic and simple. If you recall, early on in the first week, the ruble, or rubble as I call it, went down so bad that it was like within a couple of days it was 155 against $1. How will it come back? Just ask yourself that. Russia in itself is not doing well, nor will it do well, right? So obviously there's help. Where is that help coming from? I assure you the American taxpayer is footing the bill for that. Basically is Biden, Pelosi, and McConnell and Graham are adding trillions of debt on a daily basis on Americans' future and the world's future for that matter. And Germany is doing that, and the Arabs are doing that, and Chinese are doing that, and all doing that, all in order to support the investors and that Israeli butt coin. And now Putin's ruble. So that financial system of theirs, which is covering for Pustalenin by the octopus that is the head is Israel, and the tentacles are surrounding, here and there. They're not gods, no, by no means. But that has always been their thing, to work underground and assimilate into other cultures. I call it, like if you heard of shapeshifting, I call it shapeshifting, race shifting, idea shifting, and even color shifting, and even speech shifting. Everything is shiftable according to them. That's how they live. If you want to compare them to an octopus or a cuttlefish, you can put them anywhere and you won't even see them anymore, because they assume or project or show the color of their environment in an even structure or even pattern or so and so. And so is a chameleon for that matter. This is not belittling or anti-Semitism. This is a fact, and addressing the fact does not mean you're transgressing on people's rights. No. But that's what Pustalenin is. And if you noticed, Macron and others, jumped to Pustalenin's defense when Biden, tried to kind of thwart attention from his complicity in the war against Ukraine. And he blamed Biden for saying something about Putin and so on and so forth. Folks in Europe and everywhere else, it's very obvious what it is. You don't need to really think hard about it. I sometimes I get the impression that nobody knows what's going on, and sometimes I get the impression that a lot of people know what's going on. Nonetheless, it's my duty to say what I'm saying, and that's what it is, folks. So that's point number 2. Point number 3 is whatever Pustalenin is doing now is deception. And I told you way early on, after the first wave has come to a halt and faltered and receded, that Israel is ordered a reformulation of the assault and so on. Whatever Pustalenin negotiates with you, whatever you do with them, Pustalenin's being one leg of Israel, like Iran and China and Pustalenin, they don't negotiate, folks. They don't. They only understand one thing, and that is they lose war is when they begin to observe their part of the bargain, and that's only temporarily. For them, you, European, is born to serve, and that's it. And they're trying to reinstate that, to establish a true animal farm. That's all there's to it, folks. You doubted me before? You can doubt me now, but you'll find out that I'm telling you that truth here. There's no spin zone here. So Biden just basically gave up the game, when he said not 1 inch of NATO territory. And since when the United States gives in on anywhere else aside from NATO? If you recall from the history and the geopolitical animosity with the Soviet Union and the United States being like a superpower, and this is a new policy for people. This is a new strategy. This is a new tactics, which means they're receding intentionally. That's what he said. What he said, not 1 inch of NATO. What he should have said is Europe, because the direction of the onslaught is toward Europe, right? Which really failed and will fail. 2, he shouldn't even have mentioned that, you know, the fight is on, and it is on, you know, like the game is on, then it's everywhere, really, not just here. But then you will see that Biden and Trump and Obama and George Bush and the Bushes and they receded before Russia and Iran in the Middle East too. And that was intentional. They could have easily turned the tables around in Syria and Iraq and here and there, but they didn't. In fact, they went in and bore the American soldier did bear the brunt of blood and battle and so on in Iraq in order to secure the entrance of Iran and Russia, Iran into Iraq, and then exit, right? You know, the establishment just pulled them out, you know, thank you dogs, you know, you got killed and blah, blah, but hey, just go home. And here's a bone for you. Oh wait, not even a bone. No, because I heard that those who are coming back here are like homeless, some 30,000 are homeless and whatnot, those veterans, right? So they didn't even reward you for destroying Iraq and killing millions, and in order for Israel to bring that regime of Iran into Iraq. Syria as well, you know, in the east, when the Syrian regime and its ally, Hezbollah, Iran, ISIS, and Qaeda, and so on, failed to do anything in the north and in the east. In the east, United States came and started bombing those Sunnis, and eventually, when all settled, they killed so many, you know, like in Mosul and here and there, they just pulled out and allowed Russia to come in Syria and the regime of Syria, and in Iraq as well. So, so that's what it is, folks. Reconsider. United States is being sunsetted intentionally, and by the establishment that rules it, which is really Israel. Have a nice day, my friends. And no spin zone here. It's only the truth.